Praises to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, double honors to the elders and apostles of Jemas who were well, Shalom, to the hopeful elect. It says, dollar stores squeezing out grocery stores leading to creation of food deserts, study found. And this is primarily happening in Jake's neighborhood in the States.
Ann Thomas Botley has shopped at Family Food Center in Toledo, Ohio since she was 4 years old.
This is the place to be. Once you find something that you love and treat you with respect.
But today, the 58-year-old worries dollar stores are now threatening this local staple.
It's supposed to be a store to help the community, but it's taken from the community.
At the start of 2022, dollar stores together operated more than 34,000 stores nationwide. That's more than McDonald's, Walmart, Target, and Starbucks combined. Right here in Toledo, Ohio, when it comes to dollar stores, there are one, here's another, two, and here's another one, number 3. Altogether, over 35. In March, advocacy group the Institute for Local Self-Reliance published a study on the impact of dollar stores on predominantly rural, low-income, Black, and Latino neighborhoods. Its findings?
When they come into a community, they tend to just pull just enough of the sales away from that grocery store.
We have to call the suppliers, ask them for prices, ask them for deals, and they don't offer us as good deals as the big chains.
Thank you. Now a small community in Toledo, led by senior pastor Donald Perryman, is fighting this effort.
This was the pride of Toledo. It was a community where Black dollars circulated, Black wealth developed, Black professionals were.
And today, what is it like?
Deserted and abandoned.
Perryman hopes Toledo will join the more than 50 cities already enacting laws limiting dollar store expansion. The study also found that as local groceries get squeezed out, neighborhoods are left with food deserts, areas with limited access to affordable, nutritious food. Even when a Dollar General has fresh produce, it's not a full supply, correct?
Correct. So we have about 16 feet typically in most stores of fresh produce.
Do you think your supply of produce is enough to adequately feed and provide the nutrients communities need?
Well, I think it's really important to remember Dollar General is not a grocer. We are here to be able to provide the general necessities that families need on every...
Well, you can go into... let me get that scripture. This is Ezekiel 4:13, and the Lord said, "Even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them." Now, all this food that they're giving Drake is low quality food. You know, for a fact, they're not putting them little dollar trees in the middle class white areas. You know, they would never do that. They do it for Drake because Jake's an easy target, and they know Drake has low income. You know, all that food they have. You know, somebody worked with the council. They once told me that a lot of these stores, you know, in the UK we have like tiers as far as stores come. You know, the higher tier stores are probably like Marks and Spencer, Waitrose. These are like the best stores you can get your food, and they always have first pick of the food. And when they'll say they go see like a piece of pepper or something, and there's a blemish on it, they'll reject it based on a blemish. And what happens is it goes to the lower tier stores, you know, like Sainsbury's, Tesco's, and they get like second pick. And if there might be 2 blemishes on it, so they might pick the one with 1 blemish, the one with 2 blemishes on it, they deny it, and it goes to like the tertiary tier stores, you know, which is like your Lidl, your Aldi, your Icelands, you know. So you got to think that this produce that they're getting is probably the lowest of the lows that they're putting in Jake's community. I mean, why do you have $35 stores in one area? That would never happen in an affluent area, because the fact is they don't need to shop in dollar places. They have more than enough money to be able to buy what they need. And you can see Ishmael, a lot of the times in Jake areas, Ishmael actually comes in you know, Ishmael, Elamites, they come in and they make merchandise of Drake. Everyone makes merchandise of Drake.
In a statement to NBC News, two other national dollar chains, Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, said in part, our stores complement grocery stores and bring economic development to communities we enter, including helping to alleviate the effects of food deserts in urban communities. As for Family General Food Center, Iso says the prices are no match for the people.
I know half of my customers by name. When they walk in, I greet them by name. I don't think they can get that service at a
Yeah, of course you
dollar
do.
store.
Because they're walking wallets to
I
him.
get emotionally just talking about it because
If I had 100 wallets, I know all their names too.
Yeah,
What are you thinking about? What are you feeling?
because it's grace in here. It's grace. They let you be yourself, even if you're going through it.
Zincle Samoa and
That's nigga woman something else, man. She don't even know when she being taken advantage of. And I just wanna bring up a couple videos. This is, I don't even know when the next 2024.
Thank you. I'll appoint a special team to attack the high price of fertilizer. We'll have that taken care of very quickly, just like I did with oil.
And one thing about the fertilizer and the phosphates that they use, you know, in the ground for farming and stuff like that in the West, a lot of it actually comes from the land of Ham, aka Africa, you know, which is another reason why they like going in and destabilizing it, because a lot of the stuff that they actually use in the West, you know, primarily comes from you know, the land of Ham, which is why they love to go in there causing trouble. So them people coming together, because recently, you know, you got the Ugandans, even the Nigerians, a lot of them have started rebelling against the West, and that's definitely, you know, it's definitely not going to help their ability to be able to produce, you know, and to be able to, you know, keep the economy running, because they pretty much, you know, rely on taking advantage of those people to have a flourishing economy.
In fact, I got the oil down so low I had to save the oil companies. How about that one? Remember that little period when you were getting almost free gasoline? But we had to save them. We had to call OPEC, and we had to call Russia, frankly, and Saudi Arabia. We had to get the price up. But we saved all those companies. We got the price down to tremendously low numbers, and this country was right. We've never had an economy like we had. And
No, this is a lot of it is, well, you know how it goes. He comes in, he basically gets told what to do from the top down. You know, he's acting like a lot of the decisions that he made was of his own free will. Ultimately, it's through Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, but you know, he doesn't control anything. He's not gonna be able to pull this back. Everybody thinks, you know, when they put Trump in, he's gonna be able to stop the ball rolling, and it's just not gonna happen. There's so many little things going on. There's like it's like fighting a war on 100 fronts. You know, you may be able to do an adequate job of defending your walls on one or two fronts, but it's too many people to fight. You know, if you've ever been in a situation where you've had to fight multiple people, I mean, you might be able to take one out, you know, but especially if you're dealing with people who are trained, you know, you're not going to be able to defend yourself against multiple attacks, you know, because you've only got two hands on 2 feet, and you're dealing with 6 hands and 6 6 pairs of feet. So or 3 pairs of feet, should I say. Yeah, it's not gonna work.
And when you think of it, they did just the opposite. What caused inflation? The oil price. The oil, energy. Energy became so ridiculously expensive, it drove everything up. Now everything is inflated. Now it's more than just energy. But we'll get it down. We're going to get it down. We'll get it down fast, and I'll tell...
And see, this is how patronizing this man is, because a lot of the time when they put out these news segments, they don't really go into the reason why these things are happening. You know, just like that video I showed earlier. The reason why that's happening is because you put a whole bunch of stores that really offer no value to the communities that you're putting them in. And you know, before all of that, you've actually destabilized the socio-economic stability of them areas to be able to then come in and take advantage of those people. You've removed the men out of the household. You know, as a result of that, there's high crime. People don't want to go there because there's high crime. And then, you know, because there's high crime, there's low income. People don't want to live there. What little people have are being robbed, and then you come in with these rubbish ass stores to just essentially finish them off. They've been trying to kill Jake. You know what I mean? And he's talking about the oil prices. I mean, the reason why energy went so high is because they put all those sanctions on Russia, which pushed up energy prices, because a large bulk of the world's energy actually comes from Russia, you know, and these people have ended up having to resort to, you know, dealing with China and dealing with other people in order to make up for the loss, for their market loss when they had good ties with America. And they did all of that because of the war, so-called war in Ukraine. You know, so he's sitting there talking about, you know, we're going to make it better, when you're the one that created that situation in the first place. You put the sanctions on Russia. You stopped them. You stopped your own country from being able to buy, you know, oil and energy from those places. You know, they blew up that pipeline. You know, all of these caused all these problems that they're talking about. And then they sit there and they act like they're going to, you know, problem solution. You know, these people create the problem, and then they come up with a solution as if they didn't create the problem in the first place. It's ridiculous, man. This is Daniel 2:42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou saw iron mixed with merry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great power have made known to the king that shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So the only way this is really going to come back to any level of normalcy is when the law comes back, because he's really put a perverse spirit in the heart of Babylon. And it talks about, you know, they shall not cleave to men. You can see these Kenyans, you know, as well as the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. These little nations are actually, you know, rebelling against the UK, because the ultimately it's like oil and water. You know, they're not really going to mix together, and they're going to rebel until it gets worse and worse and worse. And these food deserts that Jake is experiencing in America, they're going to get worse. Even in the UK, sometimes you go in the stores and, you know, you have a lot of aisles that are basically empty, you know, for lack of a better word. You know, and a lot of the times what they do is they face up the stuff, and it's like it looks like it's full, but behind those items there's nothing behind them. So they're really kind of putting just imagine if you get shot and somebody put a band-aid on it. You know, it's not really going to help you.
As you know, the US dollar has been one of the most powerful currencies for a long time, and countries use the US dollar to trade with one another. But it seems like now countries are finding a way to go past the US dollar. For example, Kenya just signed deals with Saudi Arabia and the UAE to buy oil with its local currency, which is the Kenyan shillings, instead of the United States dollars. And also Ghana is using gold to buy oil, and that is going to also impact the US dollar. And the recent news has been Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa talking about the plan they have to develop a new currency. Brazil and China have struck a deal to bypass the US dollar when paying for trade goods, which is a significant milestone in Beijing's long-term goal to establish the yuan as the dominant international currency. So this is going to help the countries trade without really stressing about how they're going to get the US dollar or losing money and the cost going up. It is going to be beneficial to them, and that is why they're planning to have their own currency, which a lot of people surprisingly are very happy about, because it means that their dependency on the US dollar is not going to be as much, which, we've seen the impact the US dollar has against shillings or Ethiopian birr or naira. So this new way of trading might actually be helpful to those countries that are trying to step away from the US dollar.
Those in Kenya who were facing challenges of access to dollars, that we have taken steps to ensure that dollar availability in the next couple of weeks is going to be very different, because our fuel companies will now be paying for fuel in Kenya shillings. They do.
And this man said a couple weeks, I think it was like a week, 2 weeks ago. He said if you have any holdings in US dollars, get rid of them. Say that they been knew what they're doing. How the hell is Trump gonna defend against something like this? You think you're gonna come in and you're gonna make a bunch of magic words and make all of this stuff disappear? It's too late, man. And then he's gonna turn around and be like, well, if I was in charge, it wouldn't have happened in the first place. Okay, Trump.
Have to look for dollars every month, because we have done what we must do as government to ensure that we ease the burden on people who want to realize their returns in dollars. And I was being told by the chairman of NSC, so Mr. Chairman, you have nothing to worry about. We have taken adequate steps to make sure that that is sorted. I also want to give you my commitment that the business and investment environment in Kenya is secure and conducive on a continuous basis.
Anyways, fam.
Let me close out with a scripture. Jeremiah 50:11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed, which is England. England bare America. Behold, the hindmost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. And we're talking about food deserts, so you can draw a parallel there. Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, and it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord. Take vengeance upon her, as she hath done, do unto her. Cut off the sower, put the people that sow seed from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest, for fear of the oppressing sword. They shall turn everyone to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. Israel is a scattered sheep, the lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria have devoured him, and the last this that's going into the Syrian captivity. But yeah, pretty much everybody, and as the scriptures talk about, there's no new thing under the sun. So pretty much all these people are returning to their own ways. They're returning to people who are actually going to deal with them with respect. And all these problems is going to have a cascading effect on the economy of the USA. And all of these situations are going to lead to Jacob's trouble in the USA, because if you're having areas where you don't have any food, and then you have all these crises come at once, what's Jake gonna do? Jake is gonna move out of them areas. He's gonna go to Esau's areas, and he's gonna run amok in Esau's areas, and it's gonna lead to these race wars and these race riots. So these people are pretty much setting it up where there's gonna be complete chaos, and Trump is sitting there. He's acting like he can pull it together if he comes into power, when the motion's already set. And even the Lord talks about not being able to return an arrow to its bow. So the arrow's already been shot at the bow. He's let me get that. get that to close out. Second Esdras 16:16. Like an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. This place is done, man. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, double honest to the elders and apostles of James, who well shalom to the hopeful elect.